Hello everyone, Forristicat here. It's been a while since I put forward a video, so I thought, why not put a random video forward, just to catch up. So yeah, very sort of stream of consciousness off the top of my head type deal here, but just gonna put my thoughts forward on a couple of topics which have been on my mind. So yeah, very informal. First and foremost, we'll start with the leftovers. So understandably, people were a little bit shaky with going into this Damien Lindelof written series. Understandably so, like I said. However, the payoff was very good. I was very impressed with it. It's definitely not a show you want to be watching if you want to be in a good mood. It's sort of really, I guess, ultimately it's a depressing show, and I guess can be best described as a meditation on how people deal with grief and loss. Um, for those of you who don't know, it's based upon the book by Tom Perrotta, I believe, where 2% of the world's population disappear without any explanation whatsoever. And the show, I'm guessing, I'm pretty sure, much like the book, doesn't focus on exactly what happened as so much as it focuses on a couple of key characters and how they actually deal with this disappearance, whether it be through violence, alcohol, sex, religion, all these different types of ways of coping with this unexplainable event. And I liked it a lot. The main cop, Kevin Garvey, with Justin Theroux, I haven't seen him in things since Mulholland Drive. He's. I mean, pretty much every single actor and actress in this movie was great, and there's something very haunting about the opening sequence to The Leftovers, and that's one of the things which, personally for me, really it sounds weird, I guess, but often the introduction or credit sequences can sometimes make or break a TV show or movie for me. It's just something about that, I guess, anticipation of watching something and the, I guess, washing away after effect of watching something which really can be affected by a good opening or end title sequence. So, all in all, The Leftovers was a very good TV show, and looking forward to season 2. And I think that everyone should definitely give it a try if you're into that sort of thing. Secondly, what do I have here? Oh yeah, Utopia. So Utopia was recommended to me by I think Chosen One of the forums. I banged out season 1, season 2. What can I say? This show is very impressive. Visually, it's pure eye candy in the sense of the word. It's very colorful. There's many sort of directional shots which are referencing other shots. The scope of the plot is just done in such a very serious way. I mean, I was thinking about this the other day, and the best way I can describe, well, I guess I should backtrack a little bit. So Utopia deals with, spoiler alert, ultimately the issue of overpopulation, but it does it in a very, very interesting way. It does it by introducing this manuscript called Utopia, which is done by this schizophrenic guy who uh, is in cahoots or involved with this government organization called the Network. And you find out that there's some things which are being administered which has an end goal of controlling the world's overpopulation. And I read a couple of blogs online, this is really interesting because it addresses a very relevant topic. The world is actually getting overpopulated. What's going to happen when the world gets overpopulated? And that is being addressed here. So you've got this guy who's schizophrenic. He wrote this book called Utopia. This group of characters get involved with this manuscript, and it's all about getting to the bottom of this going conspiracy, finding out who's involved, finding out. Well, basically, it's a lot of survival for a lot of this TV show as it goes on. Finding out exactly how can they stop this virus. Do they want to release? Do they not want to release? Do they want the world to be controlled or not? Is it right? Is it wrong? There's a lot of ethical questions which are introduced in this television show, and it's done in a very engaging, intriguing way. The characters are fantastic, like straight off like a comic book page. It's very meta in that it's like a show about a book, about a writer of a comic, a story. So it goes a little bit meta on itself. Overall, the best way I can describe it is that it essentially is very fantastical yet believable at the same time. That's what I could boil it down to. In that, on the one hand, you're like, this is like like a fairy tale, or like just straight out of a comic book or whatever. On the other hand, just when you think that this is just fairy tales and fairy dust, you have a couple of scenes in there where the characters are thinking logically, they're describing things in detail. It's a very serious show, and indeed very violent show for those of you who have seen it, especially the school scene. You obviously know what I'm talking about. So I think having these two contrasting things, like being a very colorful, like almost like fairy tale, magical, fantastical show on the one hand, and yet being very serious and addressing these relevant topics which introduce many ethical and moral questions and get you thinking about it, on the other hand, is what combines to make it a very interesting show overall. So definitely Utopia, BBC show. Yeah, definitely goes without saying. It's definitely worth a watch. So the next show I'm going to talk about is the Americans. So I haven't finished watching all of this yet. I think I'm up to episode 8 of season 1. Yeah, very good show. It's based upon two American, two people posing as Americans. They're KGB agents coming from Mother Russia, where they extrapolate by any means necessary information which will aid their country in Cold War efforts. And it just really goes to show like how far these characters will go to get that information on hand. And I think that's what makes the show really good, is that it shows that these characters are pushing it to the very limit as to what they're going to do to achieve this goal. And like they're pretty much they'll do anything. And I guess that's one of the main, interesting points of the show, is that how far will they go? Are they going to question themselves? Is their fake American relationship worth anything to them? And indeed, like a very interesting part so far has been the ups and downs of their pseudo American marriage relationship, and how much they like it or dislike it, whether they're going to buy into it, whether or not they would rather just forget about all their goals and just stick to themselves Americans, or remember what they actually got involved for, which is, of course, helping their country. Having this FBI guy just around the corner, living next door, is great. Having him and have his own moral dilemmas as well is amazing storytelling. Very good show. I'm glad it got recommended to me. So the Americans, I think season 2 finished up recently. Season 3 is coming out, I think, early next year. So the Americans on FX, definitely another show with my approval. So next up is Gotham. So Gotham is a show on Fox, and it is showing the prequel tales of all the characters of the DC universe, being Batman, Penguin, Riddler, the Joker, etc. This has been a very popular show, so I'm sure you've heard of it. It's a very good show. It's shaky, but it seems to have enough of its footing in place to know where it's going, especially the last episode, episode 7, I believe, the Penguin's umbrella. It's definitely got a firm foothold in where it's headed towards. Jim Gordon is amazing character. Although I haven't read the comics, it makes me want to read the comics, I believe, called Gotham Central, which showcases the inner workings of the Gotham Police Department. Very sort of procedural comic. Nevertheless, this show does a great way. It shows pretty much like a comic book on screen. Like it's not like Sin City, but it does a very nice comic booky feel to something, which you either read in your comics or played in your Batman video games, which have been released through the years. So Gotham, I won't speak much about it because it's a good show. They should check out. Being a prequel to The Dark Knight or Batman, definitely worth worth your time in my opinion. Next up, Homeland. So Homeland had a pretty shocking episode last episode. Homeland is an interesting show. To me, I think it comes from the rise of 24. I find it funny. Like, I describe it to be the most boring, interesting show I've seen, and that's to say that the build up is like incredibly slow. You have a lot of setup to get to a scene, a lot of character development, a lot of politics, but it's always got a payoff. It's always got something which, when it happens, you're like, holy crap! And that holy crap moment was last episode. For those of you who have seen it, will know obviously what I'm talking about. So the main thing which gets me with the show is that showing that high level decisions are not always, like I said before, as easy to make as you think, and showing the boundaries of different characters, and I guess which is a running theme through many television shows, which is where do you draw the line between your personal boundaries versus goals you have for your other sort of motives, I guess, in the Americans or whatever. So that exploration is done very well in Homeland, I think, and there's a lot of flawed characters in it, which shows that you do have to. Well, I lost my train of thought. You do have to, I guess, question yourself sometimes. Well, at least these characters are questioning. Actually, no, I'll take that back. I mean, Carrie obviously just doesn't give a shit. She just does whatever she wants to get to her agenda. And you have this moral compass of Quinn, which is like, you have no boundaries. What are you doing? And he has, I guess, some boundary issues of himself. I guess at the end of the day, it's a good TV show because it showcases these real life characters and shows them as human beings in this obviously very important organization called the CIA, and ultimately having the goal to stop terrorism. But of course, in a more serious vein to 24, the question is still being asked: at what cost? Homeland's still good. I agree with everyone saying that Brody should have been killed off season 2. Season 1 was just phenomenal, and it's interesting to see how far that the show has come since that first season. It's a changed show now, but hopefully, I think this is the last season, season 4. It'll end with a good note. What else? The Walking Dead. So yeah, The Walking Dead coming back again. I'm looking forward to a couple of plots, having read the comics. The last episode was just shit. It was what was it? It was Slab Town with Beth in this hospital. I mean, fair enough. They're trying new things, which is good, but just the execution was just sloppy and shit. So that was crap. And they always do this. They always like build up this great plot point. Looking forward to it. Next episode. Oh, let's take you to this random plot point that you've forgotten about probably. Sorry about that, light. And they've done it, and it was boring. It was crap. I was like, oh geez, 44 minutes wasted on my life. But nevertheless, so far for me, the most memorable sequences is season 3 in the prison, like just Rick going absolute ape shit. I want more of that stuff, and I think if I'm not mistaken, most people want that sort of action stuff, and Rick to go, full. I guess he's gone full bad already, but the comics is going in an interesting direction, and I'm glad to see that even the comics have a visual different design on the front. I can see Kirkman has still some ideas left in his furnace, but yeah, the show. I mean, it really does, I guess, highlight the dangers of having multiple showrunners, multiple agendas, multiple network advice. It's just become like a spaghetti bolognese. This show, like you think about like the show from season 1 and what it's become now. So it's had a lot of ups and downs, but it's got the X factor of having zombies, which everyone just seems to be attracted to. So it's just one of those things. Okay, I was going to talk about something else. I forgot what I was going to talk about, however. So I guess, yeah, I'll end it there. So those topics just wanted to mention. Yeah, so television, probably going to see, what show? Interstellar, that looks pretty good. I saw Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, was yeah, pretty impressed with that as well. I don't watch movies that much nowadays. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes was I guess just a quick review. Very good movie. It's definitely didn't have that much character development, but it's one of those movies that slips enough under the radar, so to speak, in that it hits enough, I guess, really touchy emotional subjects that I just didn't think about. Like, oh, we don't know much about this guy, that guy. Just very, I guess, engaging story. So yeah, I love Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and some fantastic visuals as well. Okay, so yeah, that's all I have to say. I'm sure I've forgotten about some topics, but that's a that's a story for another day. So yeah, goodbye, everyone. See you later.